Hey everyone, I'm back again. Sorry for being away for so long, I was currently in the middle of moving house. But we're back and ready to start again, and today we're going to be looking at the real grade Shining Gundam. Now this Gundam is mainly featured in the series Mobile Suit G Fighter. Now this series, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball, has a very similar aesthetic, with a lot of the sort of concepts that Dragon Ball introduces, mainly featuring a super mode. Now, not to say anything about this kit so far, I'm really interested to see how the build will be like, and also how similar it will be to the actual real grade God Gundam, since this kit actually uses quite a few pieces from that. Now for me, the actual God Gundam real grade that came out a few years back was actually one of my favorite real grades that I built in a long time. The articulation that was featured in that kit was astounding, mainly due to the fact that it just is engineered in a way that it allows articulation to be pushed to the absolute limit. Now, what I didn't enjoy about the kit was eventually over time the inner frame for the arms started to get loose, and that was mainly due to the fact that it uses the early real grade inner frame. Now, with removing all the parts, let's go on to the instructions. The instructions themselves are nice and clear and concise, although there are certain points in the instructions where I did find myself a little confused, as sometimes there were points where you'd have to pull on a part or move it in a way that wasn't thoroughly described in the instructions. Now, one thing I will say when building this kit, for the face to have a nice sort of close instead of that big gap down the middle, please make sure you push the Vulcans in all the way. It doesn't show that in instructions, but please make sure you do. Take a look at the parts. Again, that gold is really nice. And a lot of the pieces in this kit have that really nice soft cut texture to them. And that honestly makes this such a nice build. There is not too much undergating in this kit, but it's done in places that make me think we're going to be getting a premium Bandai Shining Gundam in super mode, which at the same time we did get with the God Gundam as a Gundam base exclusive, so who knows if maybe in a few years time we'll be getting one with the Shining Gundam. Now the blue in this kit actually is a super nice rich royal blue, and it was actually kind of shocking when I first saw it. And now for the shining effect, the shining finger hands are made of this kind of, I want to say polarized, pearlescent sort of green, and it was actually quite a nice UV reactive, surprisingly, part. Now for the rest of the parts, some of the runners are from the actual God Gundam real grade that we got a few years back, but actually a lot of them are from this kit specifically, which is quite nice. So at the end of the day, you will be left with quite a few pieces from the real grade God Gundam inner frame. But a lot of the stuff that is used is a lot attributed to the actual articulation and a lot of the parts for the Shining Gundam, which I find is very good because it means that it's going to have the same, if not better articulation as the God Gundam. Now look at this. This kit is so damn beautiful to look at. Honestly, might be one of my favorite kits. And the general aesthetic and design when it comes to this kit is absolutely phenomenal. I am 100% in love with the design of this kit. And not to mention that, but the details that Bandai managed to cram in are absolutely insane. Now, I want to say the one part that was a little bit of a letdown for me was the shoulders, because I wish there were a little bit more parts separated, like the legs, where it has the two-toned grey and white, but then again, that's personal preference. Moving on to the articulation, this is where it gets fun. Now, the God Gundam was a very articulated kit, and this kit is no different. Starting with the head, we have a nice up and down motion on the actual ball joint connected to the neck, but at the bottom of the base of the neck, there is actually a hinge that allows you to pull the head out even further, which allows for further poses that allow it to look down and look up. In terms of rotation, It can be a bit finicky at times due to the blades on the side of the head. They do move quite easily, but you're going to end up with a nice 360-degree rotation, which is very, very, very common in new kits. And honestly, it's very, very, very smooth, and it's not sort of got that loosest feelings at times. When in terms of the arms, it has the same articulation as you would have seen on the God Gundam, and that being extremely, extremely good. You can pull them to about this high when pulling on the joint, which is a ball joint connected into the shoulder and the hinge in the actual mechanism. In terms of rotation, you get a clear 360-degree rotation from the arms. And inside the arms, we have lots of swivels. And the swivel we get at the bicep is really, really nice, and that allows for nice posing, but you, as you can see, have a swivel at the actual forearm too, which allows the arms to be rotated and have the gauntlets move independently. Now the gauntlets themselves do actually move as well. This is due to the shining finger sort of pose or super mode sort of articulated bit where it goes over the wrist. Now in terms of the wrist itself, it actually has articulation at the base of the wrist, and that allows to flex it inwards and back outwards, but you also get this typical sort of ball joint when it comes to the actual arm itself for the hands. And the elbow joints are really, really nice. You get a really nice deep 2-point bend at the elbow, although at times it feels like I kind of leave it a bit too pushed back. For the actual torso, you may think that the side-to-side pivot is a little bit limited, but due to the fact that Bandai have engineered the hips in such a nice way, you can actually pull out the hips a little bit further upwards, which actually unlocks the hips to allow more rotation. And in terms of a crunch, you're getting a decent crunch forward and a decent arch backwards, which allows for good articulation. As you can see, I'm pulling the waist up to allow even more of a crunch and more of an arch. Obviously, it's going to leave the back exposed, but that's more of a personal preference thing for you if you like that or not. And I personally really like the actual hips of the actual God Gundam and Shining Gundam, to be fair. The Shining Gundam's hips are non-intrusive and they are very, very well articulated. The front skirts, side skirts, they do move out the way very nicely. But what's really interesting about the side skirts is that they are actually connected to the back skirts, not the actual side of the hips, which allow you to have a kind of joint movement from the back skirt, which is also articulated, which means that we are getting some really nice leg articulation. Now, in terms of the leg articulation, I feel the legs are pretty much perfect. You're going to get a ridiculously good kick out to the front, a semi-decent kick out to the back, due to the back skirt actually being able to move out the way, although at times it may feel a little bit limited, but that's where this part comes in, where you can actually drop the legs down. Now this is a feature that I've always loved on model kits, and it allows for a really, really crazy kick up to the side. And in terms of the sideways kick, the sideward kick is also really, really good. Meaning that yeah, you can get the splits out of this kit, which you'd expect from a kit that does martial arts. Now, in terms of the actual leg, in the base you can actually rotate a hinge that allows the hinge to basically pop the leg out just a tiny bit for more of a natural movement. And in terms of the knees, my goodness, what a fantastic double jointed knee. This gives you a really, really nice bend at the knee, and it gives you very, very nice access to the internal inner frame. In terms of the ankle articulation, there is a ball joint that's connected to the actual leg at the base, but then it connects to the actual foot itself, which it's basically designed in a way where you can move the top of the foot as gentle, and the bottom moves a little bit more, so you get more of a sort of flow in terms of the articulation. The front of the shin armor is also movable, as you can see, and the foot guard is articulated, and you get some really nice side to side out of the feet. And in terms of the foot articulation, I can't say I'm disappointed at all, because the feet as well have a really nice toe bend, which is quite common on real grade kits, to be granted, But also the fact that you get a really nice point down with the actual base of the foot itself is also extremely nice, which means that this kit has very good articulation. At times I think it might be a little bit better than the God Gundam, but what do you expect? It's been a few years since that kit's come out, and Bandai made a few new adjustments to the way they design real grade. I mean, we got the real grade Granddaddy 2.0 and that was astounding. Now moving on to the backpack itself, the backpack, the core fighter itself can be pulled out, as it could have been with the God Gundam, and you have these thruster struts on the back that can move up and down and backwards. No rotation to the front, unfortunately, they are blocked off. You also have a small veneer thruster on the back that can also pivot up and down, and the actual cockpit itself can also move up and down. But you can also open the cockpit itself, which is a tad difficult if you don't have long nails like myself. And I just feel like the articulation is good for what it is, and to be honest, it doesn't really require anything else. And that slots really nicely back into the actual back of the Shining Gundam, and it feels like it has a nice hold, it's locked into place, it comes out easy enough, and it stays in really secure. And I personally just love this kit. In terms of actual accessories you're going to be getting with this kit, you're going to be mainly getting a lot of hands and the beam sabers, short and long, and the shining finger effect, which is actually really nice because it's made of this nice green polarized sort of pearlescent plastic, which actually glows under UV light. Now turning the actual Shining Gundam into its actual super mode is really easy, and in terms of transformation features on the kit, one of my favorite. Now for the head, you pull out the actual fins that come out on the head, and these are easy enough to pull out, and the top fin actually kind of locks into place. The face itself, the face plates do split down the middle and pull to the side, and they don't feel like they're gonna break at all, and they feel really nice in terms of their locking feature, and they don't move around, as you can see. Now for the actual shoulders, really easy, you just pull them up and it shows that kind of really nice gold that was actually featured, and it feels really smooth in terms of how this kit transforms. And the actual like bruiser sort of knuckle gauntlet arm protectors, they also pivot forward and pop out and show those golden thrusters behind. And the legs also, you're gonna get a nice sort of thruster sort of exposing feature there. For those, you do actually have to kind of pull out a little bit and then kind of swivel them upwards. It can be a little bit tight on some parts, and at risk of breaking things, I don't want to pull anything too hard. For the actual like foot armor, the back fins sort of fold back down, and the this one part was quite funny to me, the fact the toe extends, but at the end of the day, it was a funny error for Gundam, but also a really cool one nonetheless. And in terms of pulling out all these parts to transform it into super mode, it is so easy and so well done. And I personally will be displaying my kit in super mode, as I personally feel like that is the cooler of the two. But that is up to you to decide at the end of the day. So in my end sort of thoughts with this kit, I really love the super mode transformation, and obviously to really finish it, we need that shining finger. Personally, I feel like I would have rathered another sort of pose for the shining finger, something akin to that of the burning finger on the God Gundam, but at the end of the day, I can't complain with the actual inclusion of the accessory. Maybe a few more sort of burst effects would have been nice, and actually showing the Gundam off in a pose that may be familiar to some of you that have actually watched G Gundam, when the actual God Gundam itself is holding the Shining Gundam, after Domon has actually switched out between both suits. So my end thoughts. Do I love this kit? Is it good? Does it stand up to real grade standards? Yes, yes, and yes. This kit is a must buy. I love everything about this kit, whether it's the design, the articulation, the general aesthetic. It's just all done in a way where it's super nice. And at times it makes me think, why did Bandai start with the God Gundam and wait with this one? But that's a query for another day. Now I want to thank you guys so much for coming and watching this video. And I really enjoyed coming back to make these videos again. And I look forward to posting some more videos later down the line. I will be gradually starting to make videos again, and hopefully you guys enjoy. Be sure to leave a comment or subscribe, that really helps me out. Sharing the video also helps me out greatly. And for any more things Gundam related, please don't be afraid to leave anything in the comments and be kind to each other. We all have different opinions on certain things. And I guess I will catch you guys in the next video, which will be tackling a really cool seed kit, which will not give any spoilers, but it's pretty damn big.